Alright, let's look at the homework 13.3, problem number 8. Alright, so we want to find the tangent, normal, and the binomial vectors. Alright, so let's do that. Alright, so to find the tangent, we have to find the derivative. So we're going to have r prime of t is equal to, derivative of that is a negative 3 sine of t, and derivative of that is 3 cosine of t, and the derivative of that is let's see, a little bit tricky, so it's just 3, and you have a cosine on the bottom, derivative of that, and negative sine of t, so it's going to be negative tangent of t. Alright, then in order to find the tangent vector, we need to find the, we have to divide this by its magnitude. So magnitude of prime of t is equal to, it's a square root of, alright, so negative 3 squared 9, you have sine squared of t, plus 3 squared is 9, and you have a cosine squared of t, and then we have plus 9 tangent squared of t. Right? So everyone seems to have 9, so I'm gonna pull 9 out, so it's gonna be square root of 9, so I end up pulling out 3. Then sine squared plus cosine squared is 1, so I'm going to put 1 here. And then you have a tangent squared. Alright, but luckily, using the trig identity, we know that 1 plus tangent squared is secant squared of t. So what we can do is we can cancel square root and squared. So you're just going to get 3 secant of t. Alright, so let's find the tangent vector. So tangent vector t is going to be, alright, so we are dividing by 3, so all 3's are canceled out. And dividing by secant is a reciprocal cosine. It's actually multiplied with cosine. So you're going to get negative sine of t times cosine of t. Right? Then you have cosine squared of t. Right? Then you have tangent multiplied by cosine, so cancel out, so it's a negative sine of t. Right? So this is a tangent vector at t, but what we need to do is we need to evaluate it at, let's see, t equals 0, because here, when t equals 0, cosine of 0 is 1, so you get 3, and sine of 0 is 0, so it's 0, and the cotangent of cosine of 0 is 1, natural log of 1 is 0. Alright, so when we have to plug in t equals 0. So from here, I guess from here, we know that we evaluate this guy at t equals 0. So we get plug in 0 here, so it's 0. And plug in 0 here, 1 squared is 1. And 0, so it's 0. Alright, so tangent vector, we found that to be, alright, 0, comma, 1, comma, 0. 0. Right? So we have that. Alright, let's go ahead and check it. Here, submit for testing. Alright, I came back. We got the tangent vector correctly. Alright, so let's find a normal vector. Alright, so to find a normal vector, we need to take the derivative of this guy. So take the derivative. Alright, so derivative of this is going to be, take the derivative of negative sine of t is negative cosine of t, and times cosine, so it's squared. And negative sine of t times the derivative of cosine is another negative sine. So it's going to be plus sine squared of, sine squared of t. Right? And derivative of cosine squared would be 2 cosine of t times derivative of cosine is negative sine, so negative sine of t. And last one is the derivative of negative sine is negative cosine of t. Right? Then we have to find its magnitude. It might not be very pretty, but we can find it. So this is going to be, alright, so if you want to find the magnitude, so I'm going to just, I'm not going to really simplify. I'm just going to write down what we have. So we have x component, which is this guy, squared. And the y component, this one's easy enough, so 4. And you have a cosine squared of t and a sine squared of t. And then you have a cosine squared of t. Alright. Alright, so we can find the normal vector. Alright, but we're going to evaluate it at 0. Right? So this is going to be, right, so plug in 0 here, so you have a negative 1, right, and here 0 is so 0, and negative cosine of 0 is negative 1, and then over, right, the magnitude is going to be square root of, right, cosine, so that's negative 1 squared, so it's going to be 1. And that's going to be because sine of 0 is 0, so that's 0, so plus 0. And here cosine of 0 is 1, so it's going to be 1 squared, so 1. Right? So we get square root of 2 on the bottom, so it's a negative 1 over square root of 2, 0, and negative 1 over square root of 2. Right? So let's type this guy in. Alright, so we have a negative 1 over square root of 2, comma 0, comma negative 1 over square root of 2. Alright, then we have that. Oops. Alright, so let's go ahead and check the answer. Alright, I came back and we got the normal vector correctly. Alright, so in order to find a binomial vector, all you have to do is do the cross product, right? So we're going to do a binomial vector, and we're looking at the t equals 0, right? So we just have to do the cross product. So I'm going to say I, j, k. So t is 0, 1, 0. Alright, and n is negative 1 over square root of 2, 0, negative 1 over square root of 2. Right? So first component is going to be, this times that is negative 1 over square root of 2. Minus, that's 0, it's actually 0. Alright, last component is this 0 minus negative, so it's going to be positive 1 over square root of 2. Alright, so let's type it in. We're going to get negative 1 over square root of 2, right? And comma, and you get 0, and comma, you get positive 1 over square root of 2, right? Alright, so let's check the answer. Submit for testing. Alright, I came back and it looks like we got all 3 of these correctly. Alright, that's it. I hope that this was clear.